In today's video, I am going to teach you how to refresh a pivot table in Excel. Pivot tables are great for summarizing data, especially when your source data changes over time. However, your pivot table does not always update automatically. Sometimes it will still show the old results, even though you have added new rows or edited existing values in your worksheet. Refreshing the pivot table is the simple action that tells Excel to reread the underlying data and update the summary. To begin, click any cell inside your pivot table grid. This is an important first step because Excel needs to know you are working with a pivot table. When you select a cell within the pivot table, you will usually see additional tabs appear on the ribbon specifically for pivot table tools. You may notice that the pivot table area highlights, and the header row or the grouped layout becomes clearly selected. As long as your cursor is inside the pivot table, you are in the right place. Once the pivot table is selected, look up to the ribbon at the top of Excel. You will see a tab called Pivot Table Analyze. Go ahead and click the Pivot Table Analyze tab. This tab contains the actions you need for working with your pivot table, including options for calculations, layout, and data updates. Take a moment here to ensure you are using the Pivot Table Analyze tab, since other pivot-related tabs can appear as well. Clicking the correct one helps you find the refresh command quickly. After you open the Pivot Table Analyze tab, you should see a section of commands grouped by purpose. In that area, locate the data group. Within the data group, you will find the refresh button. Now click the refresh button. This is the command that triggers Excel to update the pivot table based on the latest data available in the source range. Depending on the size of your data, the update may happen instantly or take a moment. While it refreshes, you might notice the pivot table values change, or the layout updates to reflect the newest totals and counts. In some situations, you may prefer a faster method, especially if you refresh often. Excel provides a keyboard shortcut for refreshing pivot tables. If you want to update it instantly, press Alt plus F5 on your keyboard. This shortcut runs the same refresh action, so your pivot table will recalculate and display the newest information. It is a convenient option when you are moving quickly between sheets and want to avoid switching back and forth to the ribbon. Whether you use the button or the keyboard shortcut, always give Excel a brief second to finish updating. After refresh is complete, check that the pivot table results match what you expect. For example, you can review totals, counts, or any summary metrics you are tracking. If your source data added new items, you should see those changes reflected in the pivot table. If the source data was edited, the values in the pivot table should align with those edits after refresh. And that is all there is to it. That covers everything you need to know.